So I don't know about y'all, but I can guess. But for those of you listening, I'm going to make the assumption that you probably have lunch during your lunch break, or you spend that time doing things for you. Like, probably maybe not working, hopefully take a little break. But you're doing things on your agenda, to-do list, whatever, right? Your grocery list, you're running errands, perhaps even during lunch, you're grabbing that coffee, you're meeting with a friend, whatever. Could you imagine being forced to do something during your lunch break that you are not compensated for, but per your state are able to take that 30-minute lunch break? Like, could you imagine your supervisor controlling your lunch break?
No.
Well, then brace yourselves, because let me share with you a very true tale of a supervisor mandating Bible study for his entire team for a very long time, like a year at least, that was approved by his leader and even the CEO. Mandating it. Like, everyone had to go. Everyone, no matter what you believed or what you had planned for your lunch break, everybody had to attend a mandatory Bible study because that supervisor was a minister.
Well, this was not approved by HR.
Side hustle.
And it was approved by HR.
Oh my God.
And then here I walk in as new HR.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah. Hold on, stop.
And I'm like, nuh-uh.
Hold on, we ain't doing this shit no more.
Totally not able to do this. Oh, but my manager said I could. I don't care what your manager said. Oh, but then his manager, the CEO, said we could. Well, I don't care what he said either. I mean, I don't care that he approved that either. That shit's going to stop.
Oh my God.
So then, of course, that supervisor gets very mad.
of course.
And then it escalates, and I'm the bad guy, and I'm out to get him, and I'm anti all religion.
Oh yeah,
I was spat at pretty much by, of course, that guy, and I'm anti everything. Yeah. I mean, I'm a devil worshiper. Everything. I'm anti that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I am so not that. I am. Everyone can do what they would like to do. I'm the polar of that. We're not forcing anybody into buckets of this, mandating it illegally.
Exactly. That's what I mean. The red flags are just like, woo.
That's the whole point right there, right? It's like, I don't care who approved it. I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah.
But there's literally rights and there's wrongs, so they're just all wrong.
Well, would people bring lunch during it? Would you eat, or would you? I'm so curious. Okay.
Yeah.
During it. And so they'd be like, well, it's a free time. Were there people that came up to you afterwards that were like, I didn't feel comfortable and I didn't feel like
that had been complaining
I'm sure
for as long as this has happened,
because
people that wasn't their faith.
Exactly.
They had another faith. People that weren't faithful at all. People that just wanted to go out to eat.
Oh my God. You may be very faithful, but faith is a very personal thing. And
it is.
People don't want to, we've talked, people don't want to share a fun fact or icebreaker in front of a lot of people don't want to share their personal religion that they do outside of work with that. And so,
and one thing that I would do a lot during my lunch break when my children were little was I would go to Target and buy my diapers, because you can't take little children to, so like I would be like, no, I got to go get diapers. I can't stay for Bible study.
Yeah. My mind went somewhere else when you said that. I was thinking it depends. I don't know why.
No,
I missed the kid part. I don't know why.
Little kids. Babies, they were babies. But yeah, like that's what I did. There was a super Target near my work, and like I can't imagine a supervisor saying, I'd be like, fuck no, I gotta go get my kids. I gotta go get diapers. I ain't taking them little shits to Target.
I know.
And that's why I do it on my personal lunch break.
And I mean, it was one of those roles where it was a JV, and it had been kind of held off to the side,
of course.
It was just kind of a lawless town, and for so many reasons. And when I entered, there were so many things, this being one of them, where I was taken aback. I was almost like in the upside down. Like I was like, there's everything I always knew to be true. And then enter this, because I'd always worked in big corporate, and I still was, except I was not seconded, but interesting setup legally. But it just just a very unique experience, kind of being in that more mom and pop shop on purpose. Like it was set up that way. And, experiencing some of the things I did. And that was one of them. And I just couldn't believe that, prior HR, current leadership, they all approved that. They all thought that was fine.
Yeah. I can't believe
that was fine.
That breaks my heart for those people that had to.
They literally suffered through that, and were very open about that, suffering through that. And I'm very thankful to get their lunch back. Could you imagine?
Yeah,
I think it was like twice a week or something. I mean, it was a lot.
I've known a lot of workplaces that have things like that. I think it's always a bad idea, unless you're a religious institution, to bring religion into the workplace. Things like that of activities. And even when leaders are talking, like, I've been in situations and leaders have talked, who's someone you admire? Well, Jesus Christ. And in mine, I'm like, okay, but it's, and then someone leans over. Well, does Jesus yell at their assistant in the executive parking lot? Like I saw him last week. So when you say things like that, sometimes you're inviting people to be like, do you literally practice what
judgment?
What do you practice what you preach? But overall, I do think it's a very personal thing, and it leads to extreme levels of pressure that can make people feel really uncomfortable. And so I think there's a very, we are all for supporting things like, episodes on religious accommodations and things like that. But that's very different from making people do things that you think that they should, because that's how you personally believe.
Absolutely. Well, mandating that.
I think individuality gets pushed out of that corporate setting. So, like in this case, no one else was thinking about anyone else being a different religion or a different faith, and then
or hungry,
or just
hungry,
hungry. I want to eat. I don't like. Sometimes I'm a messy eater, and I don't want to eat in front of everybody. Yeah. And I just want to sit in my car.
I thought that story was going to like a lunch and learn, though.
Yeah,
because I was like, I've done lunch and learn.
Periodic lunch,
but they were optional. No,
Camera.
You did some forced lunch and learns.
There's been some places where there's like manager lunch and learns, and like if you're a leader, you're voluntold to be present for the manager lunch and learn. So,
oh gosh, clear your calendars.
Yeah,
clear your schedules.
Here's your hold.
Right,
putting this on your calendar as a hold.
Quer desenvolver os talentos da sua equipe e potencializar os resultados da sua empresa? Conte com a expertise do atendimento corporativo do Senac São Paulo, que já capacitou mais de 1 milhão de pessoas e profissionais de instituições públicas, privadas e terceiro setor. Construa uma equipe altamente motivada e capacitada e destaque-se no mercado. Entre em contato, acesse sp.senac.br/corporativo e saiba mais. Quer saber? Senac.
Entrando em contato com atendimento ao cliente. Para muitas pessoas é um jeito fácil de arruinar um bom dia. Mas na Zendesk, nós deixamos a experiência do cliente melhor. Melhor para sua avó, melhor para o seu vendedor preferido de flores, melhor para o cara do apartamento 3A, melhor para você, melhor para todos. Porque enquanto alguns dizem que o cliente sempre tem razão, nós dizemos que o cliente é sempre humano. E como seres humanos, queremos fazer algo melhor para todos nós. Zendesk, experiência do cliente com IA desenvolvida para humanos.
We appreciate you clearing your calendar to join us, the HR Besties, for our meeting today. Now, let's run through the agenda briefly. Just had a little water cooler talk there, but now we are going to transition into some cringe corporate speak, and Ashley is going to take the lead on that. And then our meeting hot topic for today is all about the right to disconnect, which is definitely hot in the news, and it's a hot topic in our meeting. So we can't wait to kind of get into all things disconnecting from work. And then, of course, as we do for all meetings, we have our questions and comments.
Yep.
Ashley, take it away with cringe corporate speak.
My cringe corporate speak today is stay in your lane. And the way you tend to hear that is when someone at work, especially a leader, hears something they don't want to hear, and they will tell people, stay in your lane, which can mean do your job and don't try to give opinions on others. Thoughts?
Yeah, I see that a lot when it's like fighting with functions.
Yes.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like fighting between us functions, HR and finance and engineering and ops. And hey, stay in your lane, stay in your lane, hey, but
I use it a lot when I'm commuting into work. Stay in your lane.
I mean, you talk to cars, don't you? I know you talk.
I do. That Italian in me and my hands. I always have the hands. Like, motherfucker. Yeah,
totally.
But but yes, like in a corporate setting, it's basically telling someone to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it
put you in your place.
Yeah.
It's the bless your heart of corporate America.
Yeah, a little head pat. It's like a head pat. And stay in your lane.
And one thing, part we don't like it is like, I think it's great when people either vocalize questions or thoughts on something. And if it's not your area of expertise, then it's important if someone is explaining to you something why that might not work and understanding that. But I think it's great. One of the, again, best things about workplace is when you work cross-functionally, meaning working with other departments, is learning about the day-to-day shit that you do, that they have no idea how it gets done.
Yeah.
And so that's how change happens and innovation happens, is really thinking about what you can do and soliciting and listening to, and sometimes giving the explanation why, but sometimes implementing ideas from other people. And so if you have a workplace that is stay in your lane focus, then what that tells me is there's a lot of people that are afraid to vocalize. They're afraid of getting in trouble. And if your business or organization is always in a defensive posture, then you are fucked.
Not safe.
With a capital F.
With a capital F. Yep. Good luck with that. Gosh. Anyway. Thank you so much for that cringe corporate speak. Let's not use that one. I don't know. That one seems like a negative one, doesn't it?
It's just me. It's like, it's like, it is. Yeah. It's me. And it's me. And it's like, again, if someone tells you something, you don't agree with it.
It's stifling comms.
There's all sorts of ways you can respond. That's just a more mean one. And so when that person has a good idea, guess where they're bringing that to your competitor.
I like that.
Like that Willy Wonka, when that the man was following them around the candy store and wanted the ideas about the everlasting gobstopper. He was the creepiest figure of my childhood.
But he worked for Wonka.
I know,
but we didn't know that.
Twist I didn't see. I just thought he was.
It's with an S. Yeah. Oh, that's going to kill me because I've only seen that video, a million times. Smiggle, Smiggle, Smidge. I don't know. Slugworth. There we go. So close.
I was going to the Googler.
I mean, it was an S.
Well, it was an S.
Yeah. You started
I would have got there.
We solved the crossword. We solved the crossword together.
Yeah, I would have got there.
Jamie gave us the hand motions. I've got a hard stop.
Wrap it up, y'all.
Right? Oh, yeah. So transitioning to our hot topic today, all things disconnecting from work. Very, very timely topic. We're seeing all of this in the news. So what does that mean to you all? Right? Someone kick us off here. Ashley, you want to kick us off?
Well, you're seeing it because the law, so lawyer me, so those that are listening, I'm a lawyer as well as an HR. But so what you're seeing is potential legal bills. So in California in the US, a law about the right to disconnect. And this isn't a new thing. There have been laws in a number of countries around the world, Belgium, France, Canada, Australia. And what these laws mean a lot is it's a limit on how employers can contact you after work, or a little bit related, your obligation to respond to employer communication. So not always preventing your employer from reaching out, but that employees don't have to. It's really literally about creating laws about work-life balance. And so in California, the law that at this point when we're recording this, so we'll see if it's been changed slightly and just even if in a few weeks, but is that it requires an employer and employee to agree in writing about your non-working hours. And this is all employees, hourly, salaried, exempt, non-exempt. The only caveat is unionized employees, who are generally always carved out of employment laws because those have to be negotiated with the union. But that you have to agree on non-working hours. And so outside, when you're in non-working hours, whatever that says in your offer letter, then your employer can contact you about scheduling or emergencies, which is defined, but that you're not obligated to respond aside from that. And so what you're seeing in these laws is really this crystallizing of the idea that you need disconnection from work.
I mean, I've been practicing this for years. Like, fuck you, pay me if it's after 5. That's actually not true.
I know.
That's it, Jamie.
That's not true. You ping me on a Saturday, I'll get that report to you in about an hour.
We know that.
Y'all know that about me.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be that way.
No, you're.
I mean, when you really
right.
think about it,
and I have that same respect to my employees. I would never.
Same.
I would never contact them after hours or on the weekend.
Yes, but my dumbass has slept at work before.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Because I mean, what?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I look back on some of that and the exploitation, right? Me just trying to, be in the rat race, trying to succeed, trying to keep up, trying to do whatever it takes to do that. And just how freaking cruel that was in so many instances. And like, why was no one there like to rescue me or to help me or advocate or, manage better, like it's, I mean, really, we should be compensated for all of that time when you think about it.
Well, and aside from even just compensation, there's time. I mean, it's about what people want life to be like. And also you may be used to things, but it may not be compensating for that time. It may be having that absolute break. I mean, all the disconnection things you talk about is there's so many, consulting, law firms, those are where it is literally 24/7 expectations.
Yes.
And those aren't what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about like emergency, I mean, not what I mean as those aren't jobs where 24/7 is actually needed. That is the custom and the expectation that people have set, especially in the US. But I know even in Australia, where I talk about friends I knew that worked in law firms, that was like one of the very few industries that seemed to work just as hard as people do in the US, meaning long hours. But like, if you're outside of emergencies, most of corporate, you may feel like something is very important and get in this frenzy. But really, everyone could live with having more of a break and people can wait a little bit longer on things. And it is so unhealthy. And sometimes you see people that will say, well, it's great. I'll leave at 4 or 5 and then I'm with my family, especially if they have young kids. But it's not just for parents, or caregivers of older relatives, but it's all together. People say, oh, I'm off from 4 to 7 or maybe 7 to 10. I'm putting the kids with, and then I'm always opening up the laptop and doing that. And I've lived that life where I open up the laptop for years. I would open up my laptop at 10. Sometimes I would work until 1:30 in the morning so that I could bill hours and get a bonus and do these things, especially in a law firm environment. But when I switched, I went in-house, meaning I worked for a company, and I took a pay cut, about 20% pay cut. But in my boss, who was a man, stay-at-home wife, kids had childcare, he had said part of your compensation is a working schedule that is 8 to 5, and you are not expected to work outside of those hours. And he meant it, and that's my life. To this day, my friends knew I was so happy in that job. I was productive. Sunday nights, I'd be happy. I was a completely different person than I'd been previously, to the person I was, to my family, my friends, how I slept. And so I think people get caught up in that, but it's not the way it has to be. And then when you take a break for that and live life, I think people can realize life is a lot sweeter when you're not having a fear of being tethered to your phone or device.
Yeah. I think what's frustrating about that is that, you can have a manager like the one you're talking about that's very transparent and very, here it is, right? And then you can go from that person that's, let's say, supportive, and in the same business, you have your colleague that can sit right next to you with a different manager having a completely different experience. You know what I mean? Which is a lot of why, hey, we need to help, air quotes, with the law, right? We need to, put some running rules down. We need to say, this is the expectation. But how do you overcome like hundreds of years of culture? How do you overcome this is your society, right? Like this is like how we roll, I mean, it's a lot, right? Especially if some of this legislation, these new rules, these laws, the penalties for employers are laughable.
I mean, it's California is like, if you have a pattern of violations, it's $100 fine.
Yeah, that's
like, I mean, people are going to feel like, I can literally hear the CEOs that are like, okay, $200 to my cat. Fuck that. Yeah. Okay.
But I think
it depends on the leader.
This shift since the pandemic, right? Because a lot of us went from in office where we left at 5. Not that necessarily we might have left at 5 and not taken our laptop. Not that, but it's different because we truly are tethered, right? We're at home. We have our laptop. We have our phone. Like my phone yesterday was going off because my Teams was going off, right? Like I have Teams and Outlook on my phone. And so we're constantly available. And we've almost created this with the pandemic that our bosses they expect us to be available because I could easily just Teams her. It's like text messaging her like, hey.
We're able to bring you HR Besties thanks to sponsors like Yahoo Finance. I personally use Yahoo Finance. For example, I want to know how news and world events impact the financial markets, but I don't have all day to look it up. So I go to Yahoo Finance and look at the headlines and a few articles, and all of a sudden, I'm having conversations and sound like I know what I'm talking about, because I actually do. They're the #1 finance destination and tell you what you need to know about the financial news cycle, like breaking news, editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, research, customizable charts, and more. Go look right now at Yahoo Finance and see what's going on. I bet you'll learn something that you didn't know and feel more financially educated in minutes. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com.
Quando você ouve um podcast, está procurando entretenimento ou conhecimento, certo? E se você procura por desempenho e qualidade para o seu veículo, qual a sua escolha? Os amortecedores Motorcraft têm tecnologia Ford e oferecem uma condução suave para uma viagem tranquila e segura. Escolha a confiabilidade dos amortecedores Motorcraft, válidos para a linha K, Fiesta, EcoSport e muito mais. Quando terminar seu podcast, é só acessar a loja da Ford no Mercado Livre e experimentar a diferença.
If you were to say to me, like, Ashley, what were your vacation memories as a kid? I would talk about, again, I only went to the beach a couple times growing up, but we would go to the beach, and I remember my parents, both worked really hard, and they were both getting their bachelor's degrees and all those times. But we would go, and they they'd call in to work once, but like we would be out on the beach, we'd be doing go-karts, we'd be going to play. I mean, my memories of vacation growing up, I would not once tell you, I thought about my parents working.
Same.
If you were to ask me, tell me about some of your vacation memories from this. I have some great memories, but I'll tell you what sticks out in my mind. I remember being on a vacation, checking my email and thinking I really fucked something up. And I remember standing outside this restaurant and my husband saying, "Why did you check your email? Now, like I can tell you're completely out of your head on this." And like, that was in the pit of my stomach. And I just and I think about those things. Or times I'd sit at the beach because a boss wanted a PowerPoint presentation for like a free seminar that I'd spent the day working on. And so I think a lot of people, when they think about vacation, and even as a business owner now, I don't really work on urgent things. I work on like broader manager training, but I still have this like very innate fear of going on vacation, worried that I'm going to be stressed out about something with business that I have to work really hard to overcome. And I think a lot of employees are like that, and it doesn't serve people's interests, but it doesn't serve businesses' interest either, or employers.
It doesn't.
That actually made me really sad when you said that, because that's so true. Even me, like I remember 2 years ago, we went to the beach during the summer, and I missed almost an entire day because I had to run payroll. And yes, was I the dumbass who had booked my vacation during a payroll week? I sure did. I booked it before I was working at this job, but so I didn't know. But where there was an issue with payroll, essentially, and someone was transferring departments, and it was a huge ordeal. But I missed an entire day with my kids because I was so concerned with payroll. And as I should be, right? I'm in charge of making sure everyone gets paid that Friday or whatever it is. And that was my sole responsibility, but I didn't have anyone that I could train. And we should encourage everyone to cross-train and learn. And one, knowledge is power. But then it creates situations like this, right? Like I could have been like, hey, you run payroll this week. I'm at the beach. If you need anything, though, please feel free to call me.
Right.
As opposed to me losing an entire day.
Right.
And I will say my employer was very, very gracious about it. They felt terrible. I didn't use a PTO day for that day. But
but you didn't take time off. So you shouldn't have. And having that, I mean, Leigh, I'm curious, like a lot of times I look to you and be like, God, you have really good boundaries and things. You taking that time and things like that. Have you fallen into traps of like getting worked up, or have you been able to disconnect, and how are you able to do that effectively? So,
yeah, I'll tell you, later in my life, later in my career, I really started creating awesome boundaries. Like my brand is really about toxic workplaces and coaching on that. And I've had, a lot of really traumatic experiences in the workplace, partly because of the type of work that I do, within HR and the types of organizations and places that I've worked. Right. And so for me, after going through a lot of that shit and it just wearing on you, right? Mm-hmm. And then we come up to the pandemic and we come up to like losses of family members and whatnot, a lot of death, unfortunately. It really starts putting things in perspective. Mm-hmm. And that's where I just drew a hard line.
Yeah.
Where I just didn't give a fuck anymore about going above and beyond. I go level and near, right? Because it's like, what else do I have to prove? And that's a place of privilege, right? Where I worked my ass off so much to where, hey, I have maybe the means to be able to do that now at this point. Yeah. But I really did step back to say, hey, my priorities have shifted in my life, and this is what they are now. And that's probably one of my key pieces of advice. And what I love to coach people on is to really be introspective on what are your priorities now, because people kind of get in this hamster wheel and they just keep going. But it's very important to ask yourself at this point in my life and who I am today, not yesterday or tomorrow, what's important to me now? Is it flexibility? Is it compensation? Yeah. Is it geography? Is it the promotion? Is it the title? Is it this learning? Is it this degree? What is it? And put that label on it, because then that helps you assess whether the role you are in is actually serving you today. Yeah. And let's get honest about it, because if it's not, if you want flexibility and your ass is tethered or whatever, they all go, yin and yang, then maybe it's time to make a move. Like maybe it's time to really start, getting real, because we have this one life and this time is precious. So I had to go through a lot of bullshit to actually get to a point where I put those boundaries in, and I've lost jobs because of it. Yeah. I've been fired because, we just expect our executives to always be on. How dare you only send on average, 12 emails a day or whatever. Well, I'm in meetings back to back, and why the fuck would I make something discoverable? But anyways, that's the stupid. No, that is literally, I know, because that's literally the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I'm actually with the people doing my job.
Yeah, I'm doing my job. Thanks.
No, I mean, like,
stay in your lane.
For real, I mean, and that's so disgusting. Right. But from another quick advice perspective, for me and what I tell myself, and it's just advice from a previous mentor, is that whatever I'm doing in that moment, I'm going to be the best at doing it. So if I'm out with friends, I want to be the best friends. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't do phones during meals at dinners and stuff like, I'm try to be as in the moment as much as possible. I don't do step outs and stuff. I really try and just be in that moment. If I'm, doing a family thing, I'm with the family. If I'm doing this thing, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like I really don't blend or do integration anymore, because it just did not work for me. I saw that I was just washing myself out. So if you see that, right, if that, kind of resonates with you, think about, maybe I have to compartmentalize. And so I love the concept of compartmentalization, because it helps me be an overachiever in whatever it is I'm doing. Because I think, God, if this person is giving me the privilege of their attention, I should honor that back. Yeah. That's how I really look at that, right? Yeah. Because really attention is the number one commodity, the time we spend, you know? So
I like that. I mean, I think I think it's a very good point as well for leaders when you're at things like lunches with your teams, events with your teams. I can think of times when leaders didn't show up. Oh, they're so busy.
Rude.
And so that shadow that you cast, and you feel like it's because you're busy, but if you're not stopping and being fully present and doing that, and you're not showing those signals of showing your team and telling people, phones down, like we're here, phones down, and we'll tell people if anybody has an issue with that, you come to me and I will talk to them and explain explain. And if you have a leader that does those things and gives you their attention, that is a leader that I guarantee you will not only people will respect, but will get better.
Yeah.
I love that.
Respect, civility, right? Sometimes that is missing so much there. But I really do like honor that people honor me with themselves.
Yeah.
And,
that's what memories are made. That's what life is. I mean, like, it sounds like, I mean, you listen, like,
it's all emotional,
you stop
but those are
and
the
you think about
memes.
those. And it's, I mean, it really, I think about some of those times when I got really upset on vacation. It's always about work things. It's always about work things. And I think, what a freaking waste. But the thing you can do is change that. And so the sooner you can change that in your life and encourage your teams to do that, you are all so better for it. That is what life is.
Because people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah, Maya Angelou, I love that quote.
It's so true, right?
It's so true.
I mean, damn. It is, so you have to remember that, like in your life and with your teams and with your families and with your friends. And it's the same, because we do get kind of like immune to the presence of those closest to us. Those are the people we abuse the most.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Because we know they take our shit.
My kids know that for damn sure.
Because we know they take our shit. But
my kids abuse me.
Right?
It's true.
But ironically, sadly, whatever, joyfully, those are the people you should be showing up the most for, right? It's the opposite. You know what I mean? We take advantage of that all the time, but that is so, that's your people, man. That's your deathbed crew.
Yeah.
On that note, God, anything, now we're all about to die. I know. We are getting older. I know. Anything else on disconnecting from the workplace? Any other pro tips on doing that? I just like to say shout out to, the states on continuing that momentum, please. Because I've always worked in global teams, and I've been jealous AF with pretty much anyone outside of this country. And all of my travels, I've been very blessed, and I've had a really awesome career from a work travel perspective. And they literally laugh at us. Well, they literally ask me.
They're like,
that's one of my pro tips. That's one of my pro tips. And
why do you want to die sooner?
For Australia, as you know, but but you have, when you're in a global organization, or even if not, and you have someone that you can talk to your team about how people work differently, and have sessions and have someone talk literally and be like, how do you do? Because that's a question. Before I lived abroad and in the work culture, I mean, I remember being like, how do people? And so that people will explain to you how they do it, and how there are common expectations, and the work still gets done, but it's done on more reasonable schedules. And so asking people how you do that. That is one of the best sessions that you can have for your team, and trying to think about what can we adopt in our team. People will be like, we'll take off August and January.
All right, real. Shout out France.
Shout out. But I think talking about that and learning, like, lift others up rather than just be like, well, this is the American way.
Exactly. Let's not be staunch. Let's do some best practice sharing. I love that. Gosh, I love that. Oh, all righty. Well, I'm pro disconnection myself. Let's see. And to that point, we're about to disconnect from this meeting here. So we better do our questions and comments. What do we have for questions and comments today?
Jay?
I see you looking at something over there, Jamie. Jamie's ready.
Connected now.
I know she connected. She's got something.
She's about to give us some good content.
Well, the number one cause for work stress, right? It's giving a shit.
that is amazing.
So maybe give less shits.
I know. Yeah. Give less shits. I like that.
Okay.
It's poetic. That's what I love most about it.
I have a comment, and this is for managers, is to recognize that people on your team will all have very different, unique career quilts, different seasons of their life, and what they care about in the moment, whether it is compensation or having time or having energy and effort. Talking to your team members and understanding what drives them is really important. But as you're working with them, thinking about what you can drive to. Nobody's season of life should be the pay your due season. People should not feel compelled to go through misery or exhaustion or things just because you did, because I know I've gone through those things. And my goal is then not to show how I've survived and how I can be tougher. I appreciate things in my life more, but it should not have taken the bullshit that I had to go through and that a lot of people have to go through from sacrificing aspects of my personal life that I, looking back, did not want to sacrifice. So pay your dues season is never on our calendar.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Oh, if you're a leader, your goal should be to ensure there's no paying of dues. Just learning and living and appreciation. Jeez, I love that. Oh, I love that. That kind of got me sidetracked a little bit from my question or comment. I have to remember now, did I have a question or did I have a comment? I think I have a question and not a comment,
Your brain's
if I may.
Stay in its lane.
I know. I've got a noodle on it for a second. But I'm curious, what is your top? I don't even know if this is like I'm saying this question right here. In my mind, it makes sense. So surely it doesn't make sense to anybody else. But, what is that number one boundary for you with the workplace? Like, give me an example maybe of just your healthy boundaries. You could just go general there. Have you created any, Jamie? I'm looking at you.
I think for me is flexibility. And I'm always saying that to my managers, like the leaders of the company that I'm at, is remember to be flexible, because we have lives outside of work. And it's something that I'm shocked still to this day that there aren't managers that are flexible. Like, so-and-so has to leave at 3 to go get their kid because at this one reason. Okay, well, do they do it every day? Well, no. So why is one day a big deal that so-and-so picks up their, and it's reminding that we all have lives outside of work and we can be flexible with that. And so that's something I'm lucky that is the boundary I set. Like, I am going to go to my children's functions. I don't give a shit if it's in the middle of the day. I'm going to go to field day. I'm going to take a PTO day to go to their field trips if I can. And so that's always been important to me, is just having a company with the flexibility.
Love that.
Everything else, though, is blurred lines for me.
Right. You can exploit Jamie everywhere else.
That Robin Thicke song.
Yeah.
That's
that he stole from Robin Gaye. Robin Gaye, right? No.
Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye. There we go. Yeah.
I'll have mine just be a simple one. It's more of a so boundary, give context when you're reaching out to somebody, and I guess an expectation that they may not be able to respond instantaneously, to Jamie's point. But the prime example of a don't is call me thanks, especially if it's THX, where you just send someone an email with that. Or not even thanks, just call me.
No.
Call me, and that puts me in the grip. It like is completely stressful because that's no thank you. That's it.
I'm about to get fired.
Yeah.
What's interesting for me is that one of the things I do when I start a job is that I share in that first conversation how I like to be communicated to and with, and I ask them how they like to be communicated to and with. And so one of my things is I don't do well just being called. Just ununannounced.
Oh, like,
you know what
calling?
I mean? I can't. You've done that to me twice, and I have counted.
She's pointing.
No, 3 times. I'm pointing at Ashley, but I'm not throwing you. I mean, because it's friends. It's not work. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just. No, but listen
she
to
will
why.
Never cold call you again. No,
I don't.
We didn't have an informational meeting.
We didn't
have an informational meeting.
But we didn't. But the most tragic events of my life have happened through a phone call.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
a trigger for you.
Like where I want to cry.
Oh,
yeah.
So for me, that is such a boundary.
Yes.
And I've had people make fun of that. And it's like, it's not because I'm a millennial, like y'all laughing all rude. But it's not because I'm millennial. I know I just called them other shit. It's not because I'm a millennial. It's not because of this. It's because just PTSD.
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't want to get that dark in a conversation with your boss on the first day. So it's like, you have to be like, hey, by the way, just even a quick text to let me know so I don't have to take a Xanax. That would be fantastic. If you need to call me, like, I just really, really like text and I really like email so I can control my workload in the day instead of, hey, when you call me, literally I jump out of my seat and I start crying. I'm thinking something tragic has happened. And it's like, oh, it like freaks me out, like big time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
She wasn't pointing at me. She was pointing at Jamie.
I was pointing at Jamie.
Hold up now.
But you will see, I will never call you. But that's why. It's like, I'm not being, you just automatically, I don't want to give them trauma, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so people are so different. Here's an example of it, right? It's just, it's just what it is, you know? But, oh, good times. Anyways.
Yes.
Good trauma. Good trauma times. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Anything else to add? I think we covered all of our Q's and C's today.
No.
And then some. Oh.
Yeah, I think we did.
Oh, I think we should officially disconnect from this meeting about disconnection. What do we say?
For sure. Let's call it a day.
Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you.